Welcome to tinkandfrogknits. Hello, I'm Natalie and welcome to my knitting podcast. This is my first ever knitting podcast. I just want to say a huge thank you to anyone who's watching. I'm so grateful for anyone who's clicked on my little thumbnail and given it a chance. I hope that you enjoy talking all things knitting and yarn with me. I will be following the classic knitting podcast format. So for today, we will be discussing my finished objects for June, of which I have 3. We will be talking about my current works in progress, of which I have too many. I think I have 6 that I'm going to talk about. And I will also talk a bit about some plans and acquisitions. Because it is my first podcast, I might also do a little bit at the end, a bit more about me, a little bit of an introduction. I don't know about you, but I kind of love getting to know the creators a bit more, not just all the knitting. And I don't know, I don't have any knitting friends. I'm very new to knitting, so I don't really know anyone in real life. So it's quite nice to have my little YouTube friends, even if I don't talk to them, I don't know them. So if you're interested in that, stick around at the end. So grab a brew, grab your knitting, and let me know in the comments what you're working on. I'm always looking for new inspiration and I love seeing what everyone's doing. And let's dive in and talk about my first finished object, which is also what I'm wearing. This is the Ivy Top by Petite Knit, which is a relatively new release. I think it actually only came out last month. The sizing goes up to 144 centimetre bust with 6 centimetres negative ease, so up to 150 centimetres. I knit size large. The pattern uses a DK yarn and I went with Drops Bell in this beautiful cherry colour. Drops Bell is a cotton linen viscose blend. With this yarn, I think that the colour is gorgeous and bright. You can see the different fibres that it's made up of, and they all kind of take the dye up slightly differently, and I think it does give this really good depth of colour that's a bit interesting and not just flat. To make this top, I used just over 4 skeins. The pattern cost £5.97 and the yarn only cost me £5.88, giving me a total cost of £11.85 for this top. I cast this on the 14th of June and cast it off on the 27th, so it took me about 2 weeks to knit, which is great. That's the great thing about summer knits that don't have sleeves and that you can crop. I used 4mm needles for this, which is what's recommended to hit gauge, but my gauge is absolutely wackadoo. It is really, really tight. I did my next finished object on the same needles with the same yarn and the gauge is completely different. It ended up really tight and I did try and stretch block it quite aggressively, so it is a lot more form-fitting than the pattern recommends, but I like it, so it doesn't really matter. And it also means I probably used way less yarn. I think I used hundreds of meters less than it recommended. This is a really simple and satisfying knit. You cast on, you knit, you cast off, done. There are no finishing details, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying simple is a bad thing. I love this. I think the fit is beautiful. I love the neckline. I love how the shoulders are quite inny. I don't even know how you call that, but I like where the shoulders sit. Let's just say that. You can see my bra slightly, but I probably wouldn't wear a bra, to be honest, but I thought since I'm on camera, probably don't want any nips out. It's not that kind of channel. I think that the armhole depth is really great. It's not cutting up in there, but it's also not really low. You can wear your bra without it showing. And I also love this funnel neck. I think there are a lot of boat necks about at the moment, which I also love, but I think this is quite nice for something a bit different. You start with the neck, you do some shoulder increases, you knit the front and the back separately, you do some increases front of the arm on each of those sides, join it together, knit to the bottom, done. So it's really satisfying. I've done my version slightly cropped, which is kind of how I like my summer tops. I like to wear really high-waisted shorts or skirts with a bit of skin and then cropped top. And yeah, I love this pattern. I really recommend it, especially if you're a beginner. It's really beginner friendly. It's really simple, but even if you're not, I think this is a great little summer garment to have in your wardrobe. My second finished object is probably the exact opposite of the Ivy top when it comes to finishing details. This is the Amy top by Mochi Knits. The garment sizing only goes up to 133 centimetres, unfortunately, making it not particularly size inclusive, which is something I'm a lot more aware of now. There will still be a lot of patterns that aren't size inclusive that I'm knitting because I have kind of planned the rest of the year and bought patterns and stuff already. but in the future I definitely want to make more of an effort to buy size inclusive garments by designers that care about catering for different bodies and different people. Again, I've used Drops Bell for this. It recommends a DK weight yarn, and I've gone for a white colour. And I used 5.5 skeins. Once again, I used 4mm needles, and the gauge for this was a lot more accurate. Even though I was knitting them both at the same time, I don't know what went on. They're completely different, but this one actually was quite true to gauge, so that's good. For the construction, you start with the back shoulders and shape them with German short rows. You pick up your right and left shoulders, but before doing that, you do a crochet chain that gives this beautiful finish on the shoulder. You knit the right and the left separately, shaping the V-neck as you go. You join under the V and then you join under the arms and knit in the round before finally adding the armhole trims and the collar. The finishing details on this garment are unmatched compared to anything else that I've knit. They're so considered and they make it look so beautiful and professional, and it feels like quite a big girl knit for me, which I know sounds silly, but it just feels like very polished and put together, and I'm really proud of myself for this one. I learnt loads of new techniques with different bind offs using crochet, and it was also my first time doing double knitting for the button band. It's not buttons, plackets, the V-neck. And there's also these like double layers of stitches below the collar, which helps it stand up. It's just beautiful, and they've put so much thought into it, and I really appreciate that. And I think that it's a beautiful pattern. And not only does it have lots of beautiful finishing details, but the actual writing of the pattern has photos to help you with the techniques. And if you can't figure it out from the photos, there's also links to videos. Like, there's so much information that makes it really simple to follow, even if you've never done it before. Like, don't be intimidated. It's really well written pattern and really helpful, and I only started knitting 3 months ago and I could still do it, so yeah, I recommend it. I cast this on the 4th of June and cast it off on the 23rd of June, so I was knitting it at the same time as my ivy top, but again, it only took me about 2.5 weeks. The pattern cost me £5.97 and the yarn cost me £9.95, giving me a total cost of £15.92. My one issue with it is that my collar does curve up a bit, and I think I've cast off too tight, or maybe I should have used slightly bigger needles for the collar, but I can rectify that if I need to. I am going to leave it for now and just sort of see how it wears out, because I don't really know how this yarn's going to act over time. I've steamed it to try and get it to sit nicely, so the collar sits quite well, but it's just the flicking up in the corners. But we'll see how it goes, and if I need to redo it, I'll redo it. It didn't take too long in the grand scheme. I think this is a beautiful garment. I think it's really versatile. It's probably one of my more, not dressy uppy, like, it's obviously, it can be casual, but you can also wear it in nice situations, and you could wear it to the office because of these like wider shoulders. It's got a bit more coverage if that bothered you in the office. I think it's a great versatile option for your wardrobe. I'm just very proud of myself with this one. And my final finished object in June is my favourite one, and if you've miraculously seen my first video, you will have already seen this, but it is my rainbow sweater that I knit in one day. The yarn for this is Drops Air in pretty much all of their colours. It's a blown alpaca yarn. So you have a like casing that's plasticky, polyamide, whatever you want to call it, it's plastic, with the yarn fibres blown into it, making this really light, fluffy, airy yarn. So you can knit at a worsted weight gauge, but it's not heavy, which I think was really important for my 3-year-old, because kids are always hot and I didn't want it to feel too restrictive for her. I wanted to actually make something that she'll wear. I used the Child Aosta sweater by the Knit Purl Girl as the base for my numbers for this, but obviously didn't do the stitch pattern. This is a simple raglan sweater with a really short ribbed collar, German short rows, and 4 row stripes for the different colours. My gauge ended up quite tight for this one. Again, I used this yarn and the same needles to make a cardigan. My gauge was perfect. I made this and it was completely tight and wacko. I don't know what's going on with my tension at the moment. I think because I've been trying to learn different ways of knitting, that's maybe put me off a bit. I just blocked it aggressively. It fits her well. The arms are perfect. They come up to her wrists. They're not dragging. It's not cropped, but it's not long, so she can wear it over dresses. It just fits really well. but maybe not as oversized as I wanted, because I did want it to last as long as possible. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this project here. I do have an entire vlog about whether or not I could knit this sweater in one day, which, spoiler, I did. I'm really proud of myself doing that in one day. It was a really fun challenge. I really enjoyed doing it. My daughter loves it. I love it. I'm just not excited to weave in the ends. I don't think she'll wear it for the next few months, so I have got some time, and I'm gonna need some time to weave them in because there are a lot. But that's not put me off. I'm either going to make myself a matching one, or a cardigan for me, or a cardigan for her, and a hat, scarf, everything she could want. So lots of rainbow projects coming up on this podcast. Let's move on to my works in progress. As I said at the start, I have 6 works in progress. There are 3 that I'm more actively working on at the moment, and then there are 3 which are a bit more lingering in the background, waiting for me to come back to them, which is fine. You know, I want to knit what I want to knit in the moment, and they'll get done, and it's fine, they're taking a bit longer. So I'll start with the 3 that I'm like more actively working on at the moment. My first whip is actually my first ever test knit, which is very exciting, and that is the Shell Tee by the Knit Purl Girl. The yarn I'm using is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in Blue Tit and Powder, and I'm using 3mm needles. This is my first fingering weight project, and I love the fabric that it's making. I think it's so worth it, but oh my goodness, it's so slow. When I was doing the raglan increases towards the end, I had well over 400 stitches, and it just felt never ending on each round. It's definitely a learning curve. I started this in May, and it's just chugging along nicely, to be honest. It's quite nice to work on in the hot weather we've had recently. So the Shell Tee is a raglan, but there are different rates of increasing for the shoulders and the body, and it mixes up quite a lot, so it gives it quite a considered nice fit, I think, or that's what I'm hoping by the end of it. Obviously it's a test knit, so I'm in a group chat with all the other test knitters, and I've seen loads of their finished objects, and they're looking really great, and I kind of love that community. Everyone's knitting the same thing, people asking each other questions, sharing their yarn. It's a really nice experience. I think I might have to get involved with either more test knits or maybe less deadlines and stuff and go with a knit along. I opted for the I-cord for the collar and the arms and the hem, but there is also information about doing a teeny tiny rib, which looks so cute, but I just don't have the needles for it because you need 2mm needles, and I only have 2mm DPNs, which I could get away with for the collar and the arms, and for the body I think I can use my 3 on the main cable and the 2 to finish it. I couldn't have done that for the ribbing, but the I-cord looks great, and it was my first I-cord bind off. It's slightly pulling here, but I think that will block out, and if it doesn't I'll just redo it, but it's fine. The deadline for this test knit is I think late August, so I will be focusing on this a lot over July to get it done, but I love how it's going and I can't wait to wear it, which is another reason I want to get it done. It's not just for the test knit deadline, I actually want to wear this before the weather cools down and make the most of it. Next up we have the Sabai sweater by Paula Strict. This is another new pattern that was only released I think last week. I cast it on yesterday, so don't judge how much I've done. I did all the German short rows and half of the shaping for this. The Sabai sweater is a really simple oversized sweater with slim fitting sleeves just to give it that bit more shape, and I think it looks quite chic in the pattern photos. I love the boat neck. You've probably seen the Sabai top. That one's been out for quite a while, and that was on my radar to maybe knit, and then this came out and I thought, oh, actually that would be quite a nice transitional sweater. I'm using Holst Garn Coast in Cassis. It's 55% merino and 45% cotton. It feels lovely and soft, and like it will be quite a good jumper to throw on in summer when it's a bit cooler or there's a chill in the air. I'm using 4mm needles for this one, and again my gauge is slightly tight, but I have swatched and it was okay, so I'm not too concerned about it. The shaping for this one I found quite unusual. It's all in one line on each shoulder, and you're increasing on every row, so it's very rapid, and it gives you this kind of, I can't remember the names of shapes, but it gives you that shape. And then once you finish shaping the shoulders, you knit the body down front and back and then join under the arms. I just found it unusual because obviously For a raglan, you increase at a slower rate on more points. You do this kind of stripe for contiguous, but then you don't do this fast increase rate very long. You often go to just before your shoulder bone and then do more increasing for the shoulder, but that doesn't happen on this one. So I'm interested to see how it will fit. And yeah, I cast this on yesterday and I've just been craving wool, especially because it's been so hot over the weekend. It got over 30, which in Yorkshire is hot. My house was roasting. The poor dog was very panty and my daughter did not like it at all. I had a lot of time in her bedroom on the floor, which was a lot of knitting time, but I had to spend a lot of time trying to get her to go back to sleep because she was getting quite worked up in the heat. I have a few more summer knits planned that I should have cast on instead, but I just couldn't resist. It's just satisfying and simple, and I'm looking forward to having this to wear. It was also my first time winding yarn, which is very exciting. I bought an entire cone of this, so a 500-gram cone from Holst Garn, and had to wind it up. So I got one of the really cheap ones on Amazon, which I know ethics, but I needed a yarn winder and I let my daughter do it, which was fun. It did fling off a few times, which is why they're a bit messy, but she really enjoyed getting involved and doing that with me. And I have since wound up some other Holst Garn yarn. If you did watch my other video, I do actually do a yarn unboxing from this order there. So if that's something that you enjoy, there's a chapter on that in that video. Next up, I have my first pair of socks. And I say pair, but honestly, I don't know if I'll cast on the second one. I've loved doing it and it's really satisfying. But the idea of casting off and then doing it all again, I don't know if I can be arsed with that. These are the Laid Edges socks by Kellie Macpherson. It's a free pattern on Ravelry and it's a DK weight sock, so really lovely thick house socks. I was really intimidated by the gauge of fingering weight socks. You know, you get it and it's like 38 stitches in 10 centimeters, and I just felt quite overwhelmed by the tiny needles and the tiny gauge. So I thought maybe doing a DK pair first would be helpful, and it has been. It's been really useful, and it's so satisfying watching a sock appear. We have a really simple cable down the two sides at the front, and then the classic slip stitch heel, flap, gusset, turn, whatever the lingo is. I'm using Drops Fiesta and I'm using the fairy tale colourway. It's beautiful. It's colourful without being too bright, and it works up really pretty. My daughter is obsessed with it, and there is another one called Rainbow Sprinkles maybe that I thought she would really like. I'll probably be picking up some of that maybe to make her a shawl or something in the future. Yeah, this is really nice yarn to work with and it's made a really nice sock. I've used 2.5mm needles instead of the recommended 3, and I didn't gauge swatch, but I can get it on my foot. I would show you, but again, not that kind of channel. I'm just hoping that it'll go over the heel. My feet are big. So when I was pregnant, my feet, they like flattened out and they're so wide now. After pregnancy, I had to buy an entire new shoe wardrobe, which is obscene and not a thing that anyone tells you about when you have a baby. But my feet now are just really flat and wide. So I had knitting size 3, but I'm doing it on smaller needles. And I'm just hoping that it'll fit fine. We'll see. I do have a few little mistakes in this, but honestly, I just don't care. I just don't care. Can't see it right now. One of the cables, I didn't do the cabling properly. The gusset turn square, the gusset triangle bit that you do, I missed some of the decreases and did them at slightly different rates, but it's fine. It still looks like a sock. It'll be comfortable. And the best thing about this sock is that this is a free pattern and it's beautiful. So well worth doing if you want to try some socks or you just want socks and you like socks. Next up we have the Dido tee by Sari Nordlund. This is a pattern from her Summer Knits book, but is available on Ravelry on its own. And it's my first lace and cables project. I can't really show you very well because I'm halfway through a row, but this is where I've got up to. I've joined under the neck. I took this with me on a trip to Anglesey. We went with Matt's family, which meant I had lots of time to knit complicated things that needed my brain power, because we spent lots of time together as a family, but it also meant that we had people there to look after our daughter. So I had a bit more time just for me. But I haven't really done much of it since, just because it does require a lot of brain power for me. I've never done it before, so there is a lot of thinking following all the charts. I do most of my knitting in the evenings when I'm doing bedtime with my daughter. You know, she'll be in the bath and I'll be knitting and chatting, or when she's falling asleep and I'm in her bedroom sat in the dark, so I can't really do this then. And then when I'm doing it later in the evening, I'm tired. It's a shame that I've not found much time to carry on with this one at the moment, but I'm really looking forward to doing more of it and finding time to work on it, because it is beautiful. I'm planning on doing long sleeves and making this more of a summer sweater. So I'm using Drops Baby Merino in Sage Green, which is obviously a wool. It's a superwash wool, I believe, in sport weight. The pattern is intended to be a t-shirt, but on Ravelry, one of the test knitters had done it in a chunkier yarn and made it a jumper, and I thought that looks beautiful. So I stuck with the recommended gauge yarn thickness, but went for a wool and long sleeves to make it a bit more of a light sweater. Honestly, I'm just so impressed with myself that I can create something this beautiful. The lace and cables, like, it's obviously not the most complicated ones that you could do, and there's a stockinette back which kind of helps break up the cable knitting, but there's lots of different patterns that you have to follow. I have to read charts. It's my first time reading charts properly, and the pattern's just beautiful, and yeah, I'm very impressed with myself. Go me. It's just wild to think that at the start of March I had never even picked up knitting needles, and here we are. Wild. Hopefully I'll get some more progress on this in July. Maybe I'll put a stitch marker on it so that we can see where I was today, and then in the next podcast in a month's time we can see how much I've managed to do. We're getting there, guys. Next we have the Zipper Sweater Light Man. That's a mouthful, isn't it? This is a pattern by Petite Knit. I'm sure that you've all seen it. It's really popular, and for very good reason. This is a birthday present for my husband. It was his birthday in May, so I wrapped up the yarn and cast on for his birthday, and it will be ready for him in September when the weather gets cooler again. This is a raglan sweater. You begin knitting flat though, obviously, before you join under the zipper, and it's just really smart and professional, and how the zipper will be hidden I think is just genius, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it will turn out. Starting with this ribbed collar though is painful. I don't love ribbing. I think it's because I knit like this and then purl like this, and it just takes me ages to do ribbing. I have actually been timing my knitting to the second for this, which will be really interesting to report back when I've finished it. Knitting this folded ribbed collar, which I did 25% shorter than the pattern recommends, took me 7 hours. And that's how you start the project. It's quite a slog. But once you get past that, it looks really great. It looks really smart. And then obviously it progresses faster with the raglan and stockinette. You leave a few stitches on hold in the collar, and the idea is that you knit another little placket of stockinette, which then you can sew your zipper to and sandwich it between to keep it hidden, which is cool. And for this I'm using Drops Daisy, which is a non-superwash 100% merino yarn. Matt does not like wool. Okay, he doesn't like scratches, so this seemed like a good option. He seems happy with this. The pattern recommends 4mm needles, but when I gauge swatched on the 4mm needles, it just felt very stiff and tight. I went up to 4.5mm needles, which is much nicer. I'm really jealous of this. I kind of wish that I'd knitted myself one before Matt, but then I also thought he can be the zipper guinea pig. So I was considering knitting the exact same pattern for myself, but I've actually found a sweater that I love that I think will make a really good zipper. So I'm going to modify it. I'm going to do the same sort of folded collar and zipper hidden stitch as this, but use another pattern that's for a sweater and adapt it. It won't be quite as straightforward because it's, I want to say it's drop shoulder, but it's not. It's drop shoulder, contiguous, set in sleeves. I don't know. It seems to be a weird hybrid of all the methods. I'm not entirely sure what you would call it. So it will be a bit more complicated, and it will be stranded colour work, which I haven't done before, but I'm really looking forward to having that as a garment. I think it'll be really fun to adapt the pattern and also be learning the colour work, so watch this space for that one. I promised Matt that I would have this done for September when the weather cools down, so I will be knitting on this quite a lot over the next few months, hopefully. I've done a lot. It's just a lot of knitting doing a large. I think I'm doing the large men's. I think the recommended size for him was XL, but it recommends a lot of positive ease, and I don't think a lot of men's fashion has that same oversized fit that women do. So we chose the size down and we based that on a zip sweater that he already has. I keep bashing my microphone, sorry. And my final whip is another Knit Purl Girl recipe. Recipe? No, it's a pattern. And it is the Child Aosta cardigan. Now, before I show you this, I want to put a disclaimer on that I hate the colour. I beyond hate the colour. It is my least favourite colour. But I asked my daughter what colour she wanted for her summer cardigan. She said yellow. And the yarn was on offer. It's been discontinued. It was meant to be £9.99 a skein, and it was £1.99. So she's got this yellow. And it is a really ideal yarn for the project, to be fair. The pattern uses worsted weight yarn and is designed to be very fluffy and warm. But the yarn that I have, which is Rowan Mako Cotton Baby, I think, is a chainette cotton yarn. So it's worsted weight, but it is really light and really soft, and I think makes a really, really good spring, summer, warm weather cardigan. I've done this pattern before for my niece. I did the baby version, and basically my daughter was jealous, so I said, fine, I'll make you one too. This is knit on 6mm needles, so it goes really quickly. I just find it so difficult to work on it because it's so ugly, the colour. The pattern is a raglan cardigan. You pick up the button band at the end, and it has this beautiful Andalusian stitch pattern. It's made up with knits and pearls, so it's quite simple but beautiful. Sorry, swallowing. That's my least favourite thing when I watch podcasts, when you can hear people. So that was my June knitting. As you can see, I've been quite busy. I've had a productive month. I've had a really enjoyable and varied knitting month. And I'm looking forward to seeing what I managed to accomplish in July. So I may have already mentioned that I have basically planned what I want to knit for the next few months, for the rest of the year, autumn, winter, and I've bought a lot of the yarn for it as well. I've been kind of just chugging away at it each month, just buying more and more yarn. So I have quite a lot in stash, but it's all 4 assigned projects. I'm not going to talk about all of it here because we would be here for about 6 years. But I am going to show you some of the yarn I've got for the projects that I have plans to cast on soon-ish. First up, I have an absolute bargain yarn. It's usually £5 to £6 depending on where you buy it, so it's very affordable. But in Hobbycraft it was reduced to £3, and then they had an offer where you got £5 off your order, so it cost me £2.50 a skein for 100 grams of yarn. And the yarn is the West Yorkshire Spinners Wool Revival in Fig and Thistle. So beautiful purples, and this is for my colour work zipper sweater modification that I talked about earlier. I love this purple colour. I love this purple colour. I think they work pretty well together. I might also use some of the Drops Fiesta Fairy Tale as a second contrast colour, but I haven't decided just yet. So this is DK yarn. It has 225 metres of skein, and it is completely recycled British wool with 20% nylon content, which I wouldn't usually go for in a garment, but this is like a outerwear, I guess. Like a zipper sweater is kind of one that you chuck on to go out the house and in the house. But I just thought, since I'm going to be wearing it a lot, oh, that's the plan, I wanted something that will be very resilient and dark colour for grot, but also it's going to last well, was my thinking. Then we have what will probably be my most expensive garment to date. I do not spend a lot of money on my yarn since I'm a beginner. I just tend to go for drops yarns, which are affordable natural fibres, and I do find them to be reasonable quality. But I've treated myself to some knitting for Olive. This is the heavy merino in Bordeaux and plum rose. I am obsessed with this Bordeaux colour. I think it's so beautiful, and I just had to have it. I really struggled with choosing my contrast colour, and I'm not sure. I do like it, but maybe I should have gone for an ice blue. Maybe I should have gone for pale pink. I like it. These are very me colours, but I mean, it's too late now, whatever. And with these, I'm going to be making the Olga jacket. So the cardigan version of the Olga sweater. Again, it's a really popular petite knit pattern. Everyone's knitting it. There's loads and loads and loads and loads of projects on Ravelry, and I just love stripes. I love cardigans. I wanted to try this yarn, and I'm really looking forward to having that. And I want it for the autumn, so I will probably be casting it on. I don't know why I'm just holding this here. I will probably be casting it on relatively soon so that it is done for that sort of September, October time. And the final yarn that I want to talk about is one that I actually want your advice on. I bought some Malabrigo silk packer in lettuce. Isn't this just the most beautiful colour you've ever seen? This is a lace weight yarn, so it's 400 meters of skein. I've got 3 of them, and my intention is to hold this double to make a ranunculus. I'm not gonna, talk about the ranunculus. You know what a ranunculus is. I'm having so much trouble winding this up to use it. At first I thought I'll put it around my desk chair and just wind it up around a bog roll. That's obviously was a stupid idea with lace weight yarn. So then I took it to my local yarn shop where they have a swift and a winder, and the people that work there, they're very professional. They know what they're doing. We put it on their thing. They showed me how to do it. They did it with me. And it was so tangled and so tangly, and all the things were crossed. And I was just wondering if anyone's used this yarn, did you have those issues? Is there a knack to spreading it out before you wind it? Like, how do I wind this? Because at the moment, the one that I've been unwinding, I have to just keep crossing it over each other, which is not it's not what you're meant to do. That's not how you do it. That's how you get more tangles. Like, it's Ghostbusters theory, right? Don't cross the streams. But literally can't find a way to do it without doing that. So if any of you have any advice on that, I would be so grateful, because I really want to knit this. It's so pretty, and it's the most expensive skein of yarn I've ever bought. They're only like £7-8, but it's bougie yarn for me, and it's so soft, and I just really want to make it. So if you have any advice on how I make this knittable, please. So this is obviously going to be quite a summery version. I'll do long sleeves, and it'll be kind of a throw over summer sweater for when it's cool in the evenings. Hello, it is Editing Nut here, and I realised that I did not share my most exciting yarn purchase. I am a bit of a state because it rained on me whilst I was walking the dog, and I'm basically in my pyjamas, but I really wanted to share because this is a project that I think I'm going to start in July. And my yarn acquisition is undyed micro skeins. Yes, we're going to try some yarn dyeing. I got these from Peak District Yarns. They were having a sale on the yarn bases that they don't use for their dyeing anymore, so they were really good value. These are 4-ply sock yarn, 75% merino, 25% nylon. I think they are 42.5 meters per 10 grams, and these are 10-gram skeins. How cute are they though? Oh, is that the cutest thing you've ever seen? And my thoughts were that having more itty bitty skeins meant I have more opportunity to practice different colours, get a feel for the dye. And I have 40 of these, and I have a perfect plan for what I'm going to do with them, which I think I'm going to do a vlog about, because I'm a scientist and I haven't been in labs for so long, and the idea of being back with, tiny scales and weighing out powders and mixing, and yeah, that excites me because I'm a bit of a nerd. But the dye I got is from Colourcraft. I think they're based in Sheffield. I've gone for a split primary palette. So for anyone that doesn't know about that, it's when you have warm and a cool tone of each of the primary colours. So I've got a warm yellow and a cool yellow. a warm red and a cool red and a warm blue and a cool blue, which I have here. They don't necessarily look that different in the pot, but I'm excited to see what I can create, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them all knitted up once I've dyed them. And I think as well that once I've done it a few times, I'll be able to do it with my daughter, and she'll get like really fun stuck in putting on her mask and spraying colour all over them. So I think it'll be quite a fun ongoing project. I do have lots of other things planned, but who knows what I'll have cast on by next month for you. I just thought I'd show you a couple of the yarns that I've got upcoming. I thought I would share a few of the posts that I've saved on Instagram recently, just, you know, so you know what sort of stuff I'm scrolling through and enjoying. The first is this beautiful patchwork knitted sweater. How beautiful is this? It's just so colourful and creative, and I've got my eye on some of the Laura Penrose blankets, which have this similar sort of quilt style, and I just love this. Next up is the cutest jumper. Look at those little sheepies. I just think this is so cute, and I don't think I would wear this, but I have a 3-year-old who definitely would. And in this version, I particularly love the colours. I think the blues and pinks together is beautiful, and I just thought I'd share this because it's adorable. This skirt from Rose Knitwear is phenomenal. I don't have anywhere that I would wear this, so I don't think I'll knit it, but it just looks so cool, and the drape looks amazing. The colours on this are amazing, and I just really love the stitch patterns that Rose Knitwear uses in their designs. I actually have their book, and I've been flagging a couple of the patterns. It was really affordable on Kindle. I think it was £2.99. So if you're into any of the Rose Knitwear patterns, I recommend you look at the Kindle prices. But then the book was only about £13 anyway. I'm just a cheapskate. And then I also have these socks. I just thought they were such fun twist on a simple striped sock now that I'm a sock knitter. And I saved this multiple times as well, which shows how drawn to it I was. I think I particularly liked that the picture was 2 different ones. Like, I never have matching socks. I just can't see myself ever knitting a pair of socks, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm just gonna try and knit twice as many patterns of different ones, but we'll see how it goes. Even the one that I'm doing now, I'm like, I can't face doing that again. I love knitting it. I'm having so much fun, but I just don't know if I'll do the second one. And I think this picture, I'm just really drawn to the fact that they're different, maybe. I don't know, but yeah. Thank you for sticking around this long. I have a feeling this has been quite a long episode. I'm a waffler. I talk a lot. And I made a few notes on my laptop as well, so I remembered the details of the patterns and stuff, and I still think I just... So thank you for sticking around. And before I wrap up, I just thought I would do a little bit of an about me, which feels awkward and vain. If you do want to spend a bit more time chatting with me, I do have my other video where I knit and chat a sweater in a day and talk a bit more about why I started knitting, when I started knitting, what my home life is like, and some of my other interests. So if that interests you, go and head over to that video. But if you're not that interested in that, but you just want to know a little bit about me, my name is Natalie. I tend to go by Nat. My husband's Matt, so we're like dogs. When people call one of our names, we're both like, because it sounds the same. I met him at university in the summer of 2014, so think Bastille, Rihanna, We Found Love, which we actually walked down the aisle to. We moved to York together almost 10 years ago now, and we now have a 3-year-old daughter and a Labrador, Sully. He is 7 in a few weeks. I really wanted to knit him a jumper for his birthday, but I've just not got around to it, so I'm hoping that I'll get to do that. Maybe I'll do it for Christmas. We have an allotment, so we grow a lot of tomatoes. Tomatoes are our favourite. She now won't eat supermarket tomatoes because ours were so tasty and sweet. She'll now eat those and be like, Mummy, why is it so yucky? And I'm like, it just is. That's the way it is when you eat out of season. I grow a lot of flowers as well. I love dahlias. I have 50 odd different varieties this year, and I'm growing some from seed. I started knitting in March this year. I started with a step-by-step sweater, obviously, and I loved it. And I just don't know what I used to do in my evenings before knitting. And it's wild to think that 4 months ago I'd never even picked up needles. As I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned in the intro that I don't have any knitting friends in real life yet. So I really enjoy watching knitting podcasts, knitting vlogs on YouTube, and I just really wanted to get involved. So this is me getting involved, and we will see how it goes. Hopefully, the audio hasn't been too terrible, and the lighting hasn't been too terrible, and it's been tolerable for you. I rage quit my job at the end of last year. Not quite, kind of. I'm on a career break. I'm spending time with my daughter before she starts school next year, is the main reason, plus various things that made me miserable in my old job. And I am just loving it. I feel so privileged to be able to afford to do that and to be able to spend as much time with my little goose as possible. I'm looking at doing some, working 1 day a week with a charity and volunteering more at the allotments and just feeling happy and fulfilled in a way that I've not really felt for a long time. I love food. I love cooking. I love growing my own food, as I've said, and we love eating out, though we do that a lot less now that we don't have babysitters. We take our daughter out a lot, but obviously she's not coming to Michelin star restaurants. And I quit my job, so I can't afford Michelin star restaurants. But we do love food in all forms. I'm kind of just a really simple person, to be honest. I love knitting now, if you can't tell. I love walking my dog. I'm a homebody. I just love being home, cozy. I love cooking, eating out. I love spending time with my friends. My drink of choice is a margarita, particularly a spicy one, though I'm also partial to a dry white wine and coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, too much coffee. And yeah, that's just a bit about me. Not very exciting, but if anyone's still here, thank you so much for watching my first knitting podcast. I will see you again in August for the July recap. And if you want to watch that, don't forget to subscribe. Have a lovely day and bye.